Hello ladies and gentlemen, the First Descendant update is now upon us. With that, a new Colossus, also known as the Ice Maiden. Now she is a very interesting Colossus. She is meant for skill-based characters, so skill damage is what's going to be doing the most and helping you get through this Colossus. This is the build that made me get less than 2 minutes per kill. I've been farming it for a little bit this morning and everything like that, trying to get this build sort of at least up to par and manageable for you lot out there. It's not 100% complete, which means the time will be getting lower and lower, the better kind of arc tuning and upgrading the reactor and things like that are, but this is what I've got so far. So with the reactor, I'm using my burning phase reactor with tactical rifle, fire skill, and dimension skill boost. Now the two golds at the bottom are my critical hit damage and my dimension skill power boost ratio. It's doing absolute wonders. I'm hitting numbers in the tens of millions against this Colossus because she has a very interesting mechanic, which I will get onto during the 2-minute destruction of her. The external components, I do personally recommend you have a full set of Firebrand because the negative 30% fire resistance on the enemy will make a massive difference in this fight. Me personally, however, I do not have two parts that are decent. So I'm currently still farming for those parts. The parts that I'm still farming for are the sensor and the processor, which I'm using volcanic just for that bit of extra fire skill power. So if you haven't got the full set, these are the two sets that I would personally recommend just to increase your damage output. Now, the weapon that I've been personally using to break the weak points quickly is Greg's Reverse Fate or Malevolent. I haven't fully built either of those two weapons, but they work really well for me. So starting off with Greg's Reverse Fate, I've got plenty of weak point damage and multi-hit chance and multi-hit damage just to try and sort of get so many things going. Sweeping Squad, I'm definitely recommending that you do not have. There is no point in having that on this. I don't even know why I've got it on there. It's just sort of stuck for the time being, but you could definitely make this better. This isn't the full Greg's that I would recommend. You want way more weak point damage, maybe even fire attack damage, just to make sure that you break that weak point so much quicker. Now more for my Malevolent, I am using all the fire things that I can. Again, even this one isn't 100% because I've done mine for chill, not fire. So I'm slowly but surely going to be maxing these two out. And we're going to be seeing how Serena does with gun damage, even though gun damage is not recommended for this type of Colossus. So, onto the actual modules themselves. I am using the Killer Recipe for Ultimate Blair. I'm not using Next Level Recipe. I'm definitely not going to be using that. Killer Recipe is what I would recommend because you do not want to be close and personal with this Colossus. She will just curb stomp you, freeze you, and that is you. That's all there is to it. You can get rid of one of these modules to stop being frostbitten. That's entirely up to you. But I use Killer Recipe to sort of maintain my distance. I'm not going to be getting frozen as much, and I'm doing as much damage as possible. I've got my increased HP. Skill Simplification for the power modifier, because you get your MP back so rapidly with this build. It's quite nice. Skill Effect Range. It works for the Flamethrower to keep your sort of distance away from her. Focus on Fire for cooldown and fire skill power. Emergency Measures for crit hit rate and damage. MP Conversion for even more cooldown, and because, like I said, you're getting your MP back so quickly, it just works. Skill Extension for duration. You need duration for the Flamethrower and how many meatballs you fire out with your first skill. Nimble Fingers for even more cooldown. And Skill Concentration for even more skill critical hit damage. Now, onto the skills themselves. If I go over Spicy Meatball, I will be firing quite a few meatballs. It's roughly between 8 and 10 that I do fire based on this build, each doing 557% of my skill power. Good explosion damage, just to be on the safe side, because sometimes the ads do get in the way, and you can use that to also get your stacks. Temperature check is different than all the other ones. You want to use it sort of based with Chef's Touch. So every single time you hit with a skill, your first and third skills, you will get a stack of Chef's Touch up to a maximum of 10. The second you get a maximum of 10, you can use your second skill and get 50% of your MP back instantly. And I can do this every 12.7 seconds. Flamethrower is just a basic flamethrower that's on almost every single Blair, apart from if you're using next level recipe where it changes ever so slightly into a fan rather than a straight flame. I'm using this every 9.5 seconds, but with the sort of duration, I'm actually using it every 3 seconds. There is a very, very sort of slight delay between them. So from the second you use it, it goes on to cooldown. And then the second you come out of it, you've got about 3 seconds before you can use it again. I use this to get my stacks up extremely quickly against this Colossus, and it does absolute wonders. Now, the one that's going to be doing the most damage is your Deadly Feast. Now, you want to be using this at max stacks after you've used your second skill. You want to get your MP back, use this skill once, because it keeps all your stacks, and you will be firing out all 10 fireballs at max power straight towards this Colossus after you break a weak point. You don't want to do it before, you want to do it after you break a weak point, and that's what makes your skill power incredibly strong during this Colossus. If you do it before you break a weak point, you're barely going to be hitting millions of damage compared to about 80 million to 100 million damage that you're going to be doing. It shreds this Colossus, and it's incredible. Now, with Killer Recipe, you don't have to use your second skill to get your crit hit rate and damage. You automatically have your crit hit rate and damage on this already. So it doesn't really matter, to be honest. You just have it for your basic stuff, and this build works incredibly well for me. Onto the actual skills themselves. Because I'm not in a battlefield, I only have a 44.86% crit hit rate, which does go up to 70%, which is still very, very good. It's the crit hit damage that you really need to pay attention to and try and get more of. The higher the better in anything. If you can make this build better and make it work for you, please do. This is just sort of a base set that I've got that helped me get less than 2 minutes per kill on this Colossus. Onto the arc tuning. They have now also introduced a mutant cell slot. This is the one I do recommend you go for Blair, because it unlocks the almandine sort of socket. You do need to do a little bit of farming for it. I, however, do not have enough to unlock it as of yet, but I'm sort of on my way to it. I already have the mutant cell that I want to put into it, but if you've definitely got that, and go into also the skill cooldown as well, you'll be shredding this boss a lot quicker than I would. Once I get those in, I will sort of redo it and see if I can get it in less than a minute. I know I can, because the quickest I've actually done it is, let me show you, because I've already got it on the leaderboard. I believe it was a minute 52. No, a minute 49. See, I'm 271th on the board at the moment, and I know it can be done a lot quicker. I just need to sort of max out my Blair, max out the things that I need to do, and just have it work for me. So hopefully this build sort of works for you lot. And I'll show you the 2-minute one, and I'll also talk through it at the same time. So starting off into this battle, there is the brand new Ice Maiden. She has 930 million health whilst you're doing it solo. And as you can see, I started off using my first ability immediately, pulling out my Malevolent, trying to break either one of the bottom 2 weak points. I recommend going and picking one weak point, whether it's the shoulder or one of the legs. And the second you see that, the destroying its parts grants Descendant damage, that's the time to let loose with your skills. You want to get in close and use the flamethrower. And as you can see, I'm doing 8 million damage per critical tick. And it works for me. I immediately got all my stacks, used my 4, and you can see that HP and everything just start to shred. It goes through so quickly, but there are a few things that you do need to be careful of. If she teleports to you, roll away as quick as possible, or you are going to be curb stomped directly into the ground. Probably the best time to use anything is when she flies up into the air to shoot her little icicles at you. That is the time to use your flamethrower. And as you can see, I am just shredding her health, 12 million damage per meatball. 12 million damage per tick of that fireball, and I got all my stacks back incredibly quick. Now, the second you see her go into ultimate form, try and do some damage before you can get out of that sphere. That sphere will absolutely wreck you unless you have the HP and defense to sort of survive it. You want to break her bar as quickly as possible. And as you can see, she teleported straight towards me. I rolled away, tried to do as much as I can. I'm trying to get that bar down as quick as I can. Just waiting for my fourth ability to sort of come back. Got to get my MP back. She goes into this sort of burst state. I believe she does one-shot you if that does sort of fill up. I'm not going to allow that to happen. I'm going to shred her health as quickly as possible to make sure I bring her out of that sort of end game. And that was it. Less than 2 minutes going through this. There was no issues whatsoever. I didn't die once. I didn't have any issues. I've done this around 10 times already, trying to get a really decent time. And there we go, 1 minute 58 seconds without any issues. If you guys did enjoy this, please give a like, comment and subscribe. It really does help me with the channel. I appreciate you all. Thank you for tuning in, and I'll see you all in the next one. Hey guys, AGWag is here. YouTube has decided that these are the 2 videos that you would most likely enjoy from my channel, so be sure to give a like, comment and subscribe.